Brittany Kao. I am the creator of Self-Love with Style, the place to learn to create a wardrobe where you can love your clothes and your body that's in them. So today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, and that's how to dress modern without being a slave to trends. I love the word modern to describe style. I think it's the most common word that women are going to love. So what do I mean by the word modern? So the word modern, when I'm talking about it in terms of style, means that you feel current, you feel up to date, you feel fresh, you look like someone would see you and wouldn't think, ooh, why is she wearing that? Like that was so whatever, 2000s or 1990s. So modern just means that you are in touch with what's going on in style right now. And I love using this word because I feel like most women want to be modern, but they don't want to be trendy. And I feel like that's because we want to look stylish, we want to look up to date, but the word trendy is scary. Because the word trendy means that it's going to change right away. And that means we're going to have to change our wardrobe. We're going to have to spend more money. We're going to have to get rid of things. Trendy also means that you subscribe to a certain philosophy, like what's on the runway, which also can be a little bit scary for people. It can be a little bit too much, right? So trendy evokes this fear of having to spend money. It makes you feel and look a certain way that you probably don't want to feel, almost like a fashion victim, right? You're trying the latest thing. And so we're always trying to stay away from that trendy word. So how can we go closer to the modern word without feeling like we need to be trendy, like we need to keep updating, like we need to stay in touch with style? How can we still look stylish without being a slave to the trends and the word trendy? So one of the first things I want to talk about is for staying modern, I like to look at it in terms of decades. So let's say you were wearing something that screams like another decade. That is not modern. So that means you're only having to really change over your wardrobe every 10 years, which you should probably be doing anyways. So being modern means that you're in touch with what's going on in this decade, because I feel like there is overarching changes in fashion about every 10 years. Like if we think about fashions in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, it changes drastically about every 10 years. So how can you stay modern? Well, look at your wardrobe about every 3 to 5 years, let's say, and really study it and see where you're at and say, do I still look like I belong in this decade? And that's not a big reach. I think everybody should be looking at their wardrobe every 3 to 5-ish years to see what's in there, what still works for them, what doesn't, what still feels fresh, what doesn't, what still feels like them, what still fits them. So my first tip with staying modern is to be looking at your wardrobe every 3 to 5 years and seeing if it still feels current. And now the next thing is, what defines something being modern, and how do we know that it is what I said, like in this decade, fresh, current? I want you to think of not necessarily a trend, but a silhouette. So if we think back into fashion, so let's say 70s, right? We think hippie, bell bottoms were big, right? So that would be what was modern then. Bell bottoms, that's a big silhouette. So think of the overarching silhouettes that we're looking at. 1990s, we saw a lot of more of like the grunge. We saw crop tops. We saw higher waisted jeans. Those again would be what was modern back then. because that was the overall silhouette. 2000s. Some of us are still kind of trying to make that change from 2000s to the 2010s. So 2000s, we saw a lot of the boot cut. The boot cut was all the rage. So we had a boot cut on the bottom and a very fitted top. So that was a very 2000s kind of silhouette. So we're looking at the overall kind of picture. Now 2010s, we're seeing slim leg bottoms, flowier top. We came to the whole slim leg bottom, or we're gonna see a little bit of a wide leg bottom, but in general, we're seeing volume on the top, slim on the bottom. And that was a huge change because it's completely the opposite of the 2000s, which is why a lot of people are still making that change. But I feel like that's when people feel a little bit dated, is when they've got that typical boot cut bottom, fitted top, you know, a certain wash jean that just like reeks of 2000s. And so they're just not sure why they feel a little bit dated, a little bit frumpy. And it's because the silhouettes have changed so much. You know, we're completely opposite into the 2010s. So that's where we're gonna feel a little bit more modern, is changing that overall silhouette. So that's really important to look at when we're talking about staying modern. It's just not just an individual piece like, let's say, a leather dress. We're talking about the overall silhouettes that we're seeing in fashion in terms of what our pieces are and what's current. So let's talk about what's really modern now. What are we seeing out there that should kind of be in our wardrobe? If we wanted our wardrobe to be modern and current right now, what should we look for? Now, I mentioned before, slim leg bottoms. That's the big thing. Is now, I'm not saying you can't wear a boot cut, just if you like a boot cut, wear a boot cut. But if you're feeling like, you know, you're feeling that little bit of dated, it's because we really moved to a slim leg bottom. It's hard to find a boot cut out there. Now, we're also seeing, it went both ways. We're seeing a little bit of a wider leg too, but we're not seeing that boot cut. It's one or the other, right? Where we went from the very strong boot cut in the 2000s, now we're seeing either skinny or wide. So either go full wide or you go skinny. And then of course, we've got to balance it on the other half. So we saw a lot of flowy tops. So we have the skinny bottoms, flowy on the top. That was the big silhouette change. And now it's a little bit more obvious. Back then, people were struggling with that idea, but now I think it's a little bit more common now. And so that's really what I find was the 2000 silhouette. Now, to go with that kind of like volume on the top, we also saw things like blazers and jackets get less structured. So how to look more modern was doing more of like a blazer that didn't have a lapel. So very straight down, keeping blazers very open, or jackets very open. We also see them become less angular, right? So we saw things get a little bit more casual. So if we were shopping for a blazer, it was very much like kind of in between a cardigan and a blazer. So less structured, more loose on the top. That's what's feeling very, very modern right now, especially if we're going to talk about workwear and we're going to talk about suiting. And even for men, again, slim. We're going for the slim. We don't want lots of volume. We want slim leg, keep everything slim, sleek, modern. And that's the next thing I want to talk about. So what's modern right now is we took this turn into kind of more straight lines and minimalism. It's not for everybody, but you can do it in a certain way. Think very like Aritzia, you know, lots of those straight line shapes, very kind of structure that speaks for itself, right? Like you don't have to have a lot of going on. We're seeing more detail in the actual structure of the clothing. So we're going back to just very clean lines. Again, you know, if we were doing a pant that's skinny, it's just a long, clean line rather than things going, you know, flaring out. Or even if it's a wide leg, it's very straight down, very minimalist. when we do the blazers, again, it's a very clean line. We're not seeing the blazers, you know, go in and whip at the waist. Just very clean, straight lines. Trickier for some people to pull off, but it does give that really, really, really modern edge. And so when you do it, it can feel very like cool, something that I love, a little bit edgier. Another thing with minimalism is we're kind of going away from consumerism, and now we're talking about things like capsule wardrobes, right? And getting more out of our clothes, which is why we're kind of going back to that like minimalist, clean line clothes, because now all of a sudden we want to do away with fast fashion and we're going to more quality, sustainable pieces. So we're going back to, again, very simple, being able to build on very just like streamlined classic pieces. So the rise of minimalism and capsule collections and easy to build closets. Now, on touching on that with the anti-consumerism, we're also seeing more sustainable fashion. So of course, we're trying to do away with fast fashion. So we're seeing a lot of people investing more, thrifting more, consigning more. And this doesn't necessarily touch in terms of silhouette, but sometimes in terms of buying habits, what stores might be more popular, you know, whereas, you know, we were reaching for a lot of like H&M. Now we might be investing a little bit more in something like I mentioned, like an Aritzia or something that's going to last you a bit longer because you want a great piece that's going to last you a long time. So we're moving away from that and just moving into simplicity, quality, end of the fast fashion, end of all of the constant turnover of trends, and keeping more of a just current solid silhouette, because we've seen like it's already 2020 and I feel like from 2010 to 2020 we saw that same silhouette, right? The very clean lines and the volume on top, skinny bottom, and it hasn't really changed too much yet. We're still seeing on that same kind of track. So I'm interested to see where that's gonna go. In terms of even color and pattern, like we're seeing very either graphic pattern, so again, keeping on that kind of minimalist, edgy, kind of modern vibe, or we're seeing lots of like cool florals. So either if like there were like our patterns are even getting a little bit more cool and a little bit more like graphic, right? So it's not the same as, you know, back in the 90s where we're seeing a little bit more like solids and grunge. We're doing a lot more patterns, but more in like a cool, modern, edgy kind of way. And then the last thing I want to talk about is keeping ourselves modern without having to think that we have to go shopping all the time. So just a couple quick tips. Again, invest in good quality pieces that are going to last you a while. If you invest in a good silhouette that you're going to love for a while, then you're going to be modern and set for a while before you have to go again. So you're not going to feel like you're in that constant cycle of shop, shop, shop. Do I have to find trend, right? So get your good classic pieces that you know are modern. Like I said, you know, a really great pair of jeans, a really great slim leg pant, a really good straight blazer with no lapel, and get those classic pieces that are going to stay in your wardrobe and you know you're going to still look modern. And you can even throw in like a touch of that trend a little bit, but don't make that your whole wardrobe and thinking you have to work it over and over again, right? Get your basics, get your classics in the modern way, right? Because that's what we're talking about, is just keeping that certain silhouette that's current right now. And then you can add in some kind of more fun, trendier pieces. Like I know I'm not going to spend as much money on something if it's something that's going to be a little bit trendier that I feel might be out in a season or two versus something I know is going to probably last me at least 5 years, for instance. So start with your basics, you're going to be good, and then you can throw in some of those little trends. focus on good fit, because that's also going to be the difference between something that looks up to date and something that could look a little bit dated if it doesn't fit you well, right? So being fresh and modern and current, make sure things fit. So also revisit that wardrobe. Make sure there's stuff in there that doesn't fit you, get rid of it. Even if you want to keep it, because I will keep some stuff if it's too big, if it's too small. And you know what? There's been so many times where I've gone back and I will actually wear it now because I've changed size or whatever. So keep it, but get it out of your closet. You know, everything right now should fit you good. Don't be afraid to tailor things. Everybody's so afraid to tailor things. I know it's extra money, but then I think, you know, all that, like that $10 to $20 for even simple things. Think of how much you spend on waste on a coffee or an ice cream, and that money that could go to a piece that you absolutely love that fits you well, right? So focus on things that are good classics. You can throw a dash of trend in there. Make sure that they fit you well so that they look modern and fresh. And then, like I said, go back, reevaluate every 3 to 5 years, kind of see where you're at, see where things are at. Go into the store, right? This is a good way to do it. Go into a store if you're not sure of whether things are still down your alley and stuff, and look at those overall silhouettes. Like right now, for instance, yeah, a puffy sleeve is really trendy, or even I've got the more of the balloon sleeve where it's tight at the cuff and it's wide here. That's trendy. You know, it's not an overall silhouette. Just look at the overall silhouette of things, of tops, of pants, of dresses, and see how things are and if they're still current with your wardrobe. If not, maybe to revisit it. Take a look. You don't have to subscribe to everything, but see if that silhouette in there still makes you feel like your wardrobe feels current and up to date. So take a peek, go shopping every little while. And then I'm not saying all the time, every year, every 2 years, even look at your good basics every 3 to 5 years. And that way we're still gonna have a wardrobe where we feel good in, we feel modern, we feel cool, but we don't feel like we have to subscribe to all the trends out there and that we have to be constantly shopping and updating it and being a slave to those trends. So I hope this helps you on what is modern versus trendy, how you can get your closet more modern, and how we can keep it that way. So if you have any other questions for me or shopping tips, you can just throw them on the comments below. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.